Hello, I'm Juliet and welcome to my garden here in St Albans. Now Easter is going to be different this year, isn't it? We're not going to be able to be with each other to celebrate Easter Day. However, we can be together in other ways, and one way is one of our traditions that we've always taken part in our family and in our church here at the Abbey, and that's making an Easter garden. So I'm going to show you how to make an Easter garden, and I very much hope that you might have a try as well. So first of all, the first thing you need is a seed tray. It could be this shape, or it could be circular, or it could be any shape really, long as it holds some soil. And then you need to find some soil perhaps in your garden, and then fill your tray. So the first thing I'm going to make is I'm going to make a hill. So I'm going to scoop away some of the soil here, and I'm going to build a hill. Now the hill represents the hill on which Jesus was crucified, and that hill's called Calvary. So this represents Calvary. I'll see how high I can get it without the soil falling over the top. So there we are, there's Calvary, our hill. Now, on Calvary, of course, there was the cross of Jesus, and then also there were two other crosses. So I'm going to show you, first of all, how to make a cross. This is how I made it. I went round my garden and I found some sticks, some garden twine, and very carefully I just bound it round and round and round like this to make it nice and firm so that the cross won't fall apart. And then you could tie yours very carefully as well, just to make sure it's firm. So very simple to make a cross. So I've got 3 crosses because of course Jesus died with 2 other people next to him who are known as robbers or bandits. So my first cross is the one that represents Jesus, and you can see that that's quite a large cross. Then there's a second one to represent one of the robbers, and then the third one to represent that one, and that's very clear. And I've just noticed the shadow on the soil, so that's rather lovely too. So Jesus died on the cross, and we remember that on Good Friday, which will be later this week. Now, after Jesus had died, his friends carried his body to a tomb because he had to be buried there and laid there to rest. So I'm going to make my tomb over here. I'm going to just move some of that soil over, bunch a little bit more up, and I've got with me a flower pot. This one is a compostable flower pot. It doesn't matter, any sort of pot will do. A yogurt pot if you haven't got a flower pot, or you could even make something if you like making things like salt dough. You can make your own little cave, your own little tomb. So there's mine, very simple. Put a little bit of soil over the top, and then I expect, like me, you've got quite a lot of moss in your garden, so I'm going to cover the top with moss just to make it look a little bit more authentic. So there we are, there's my moss, a little bit over there as well. Got so much moss in my garden. And then I'll just put a little bit at the back. And there at the side. But if you don't have moss, you could maybe just put some grass over there, or some leaves, anything really, just to help it look a bit like a tomb. Now, when the disciples carried Jesus' body to the tomb, obviously they were very sad. That was part of the last part of Jesus's journey, really, to the tomb. And so I like to make a path, and I've made my path here out of little tiny stones out of my garden, and also I've got a few shells from a place that we like to go on holiday. So that was from the beach when we were last there, which is quite a long time ago now. So there's my little path. You could do a little wriggly path, all sorts of path. But I think that path is actually quite important. It really helps me remember the journey that Jesus made, the journey his disciples made and his friends, and the journey that we make as Christians. And of course we are always on a journey. So our journey never ends, does it? And so that's my little path. Now, I think it's quite nice in a garden to have some flowers as well. So I've just gone round my garden and I found a few flowers that I'm just going to pop in. There's some forget-me-nots here. And I'll put another one over here. And of course here they look a bit like trees, don't they? There's another one. And then I've got a lot of primroses. So I'm going to put some primroses in. I love primroses. So bright and cheerful, aren't they? And then I've got here just a few violets that I'm going to pop in as well, just here. And then I've got space for one more primrose. Maybe I could pop it in there at the back. How about that? Right. Now, the next thing I need to do is that when the disciples laid Jesus's body into the tomb, they had wrapped him up in linen. So I've just got a little bit of white linen there to pop in, and that represents Jesus's body. And of course the last thing we need to do is to seal the tomb, because remember, the authorities said seal the tomb so that nobody can get the body out. And that was of course because they remembered what Jesus had said about coming back to life. So there's my tomb with the sealed part. And there is our Easter garden. And one more thing I'm going to plant though are some seeds. Now normally I put in mustard seeds because they're really fast growing, but I couldn't get any this year. But I could get something called cat grass, and this apparently will sprout in about 3 to 5 days. So with any luck, this might sprout for Easter morning. And because this end of the garden is all a bit bare, isn't it? And you know, reminding us of the sadness of the death of Jesus. So hopefully, if I'm careful, and I'll water them very carefully as well. Of course, remember to water the rest of your plants. Don't want them to fade away. Might have by Easter morning a few more bits of grass coming up. Now, if you have any difficulty getting those, I have got a few spare packs, so you can always contact the cathedral and they'll let me know. So there's our Easter garden. And of course on Easter morning, what will you be doing? We'll be going down and we'll be rolling our stone away to remind us that Jesus had come back to life. And of course that's why we've got these beautiful flowers, because it reminds us of the colour and the joy of Easter. Now, it would be lovely if you made an Easter garden, and perhaps you might like to take a photograph and send that in to us, and we can all have a look at them and share them. If you don't have access to a garden, then you could draw your Easter garden. Just a beautiful Easter garden with Calvary, with the tomb, with flowers, full of that Easter joy. So all that remains now for me to say to you is I wish you all a happy and a peaceful and a blessed Easter.